You know, there's a moment in life, a moment every parent, especially us senior parents, eventually faces. It's the moment your own child says something you never thought you'd hear from them. A cold phrase, a disrespectful tone, a sentence that shatters something inside you that you didn't even know was fragile. And you sit there wondering, after everything I've done, after all these years, how did we end up here? But here's the good news, my friend. You're not powerless. You're not helpless. And you're certainly not done teaching. Not at 60, not at 70, not at 80, not at 90. As long as breath sits in your chest, you still carry wisdom your children need, even if they don't realize it yet. Today we're going deep into the heart of senior parenting, into the reality of grown children who forget, slip, lash out, disrespect, or take us for granted, and into the wisdom that only age, true age, can give. Let's begin. You know something funny about getting older? The world keeps changing, but the human heart doesn't. No matter how many smartphones, apps, or gadgets they create, respect is still respect. Kindness is still kindness. A gentle tone is still a gentle tone. When we were younger, we didn't have all these fancy things. But we had discipline. We had manners. We had elders we wouldn't dare speak to in a disrespectful way. So when a grown child snaps at you, dismisses you, speaks to you like you're a burden, it doesn't just feel wrong. It feels like the world suddenly flipped upside down. You are not weak. You are not old-fashioned. You are the root of the tree. Without you, there is no family. So today, we're going to walk through the most hurtful things adult kids say, and we're going to learn the wise responses that teach them respect, remorse, and accountability, not through anger, but through dignity. Here are the hurtful statements they make. 1. You don't know what you're talking about. When a grown child says this, what they really mean is, I don't want to hear what you're saying, because I'm overwhelmed. But here's the truth. We know more than they realize, because we've lived more than they can imagine. It hurts because it dismisses your experience. It makes you feel invisible, as if your entire lifetime of lessons somehow disappeared. Many parents react with anger or tears. But the senior response, the wise response, the elder response, is different. Say calmly, I may not know everything, but I know life, and I know you. I'm here to help, not argue. This shifts the atmosphere. It slows the heated moment. It reminds them you are not trying to control them. You're using the wisdom you earned over many decades. When you speak calmly and maturely, your child hears their own disrespect echo louder. They feel guilt, not because you forced it, but because you stayed dignified. 2. I don't owe you anything. This one cuts into the bone, because it pokes right at the heart of parenthood. We never wanted repayment. We raised them out of love, sweat, sacrifice, sleepless nights, and countless worries. When a grown-up child says this, it's usually out of fear. Fear of responsibility, fear of guilt, fear of being needed, fear of admitting they do owe us respect. When they say this to you, say gently, you're right. You don't owe me anything. But every relationship needs respect from both sides. This shocks them, because you aren't arguing. You aren't guilt-tripping. You're simply correcting the anchor of the conversation. Later, when they lie in bed, when they settle down, when the noise of their day settles, your words will replay in their mind, and they will feel that guilt, the healthy kind, the kind that teaches maturity. I don't have time for this. Oh, we know this one too well. The fast-paced world has them running, rushing, and drowning in responsibilities. But here's the honest truth. People make time for what matters. Answer with quiet strength. Say, then let's talk when you can speak to me with patience. This is a boundary, a powerful one. You are not begging for time. You are requiring respect during that time. When you withdraw calmly, you show that your presence is valuable. And that realization hits harder than any scolding ever could. Or, you're too sensitive. This one is manipulative. It flips the blame onto you. You should respond wisely like this. I feel because I care. Sensitivity is not weakness, it's humanity. You are teaching them emotional intelligence in one simple sentence. 5. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Your feelings are not nothing. Your pain is not nothing. Your heart is not nothing. Your response should be, it may be small to you, but it matters to me. This stops them. It forces them to step into your shoes instead of invalidating you. Marjorie had always been a gentle soul. At 76 years old, she moved through life the way a soft breeze moves through curtains. Quiet, steady, and unnoticed, unless you pause long enough to feel her warmth. She spent her entire adult life giving her time, giving her energy, giving her patience, giving her heart. She raised 3 children alone after her husband passed early. She cooked thousands of meals, warmed countless towels straight from the dryer for her children on snow days, and spent nights sitting on the edge of beds calming nightmares, listening to teenage heartbreak, or waiting up until everyone arrived home safely. She wasn't perfect, but she loved perfectly. So when her son Andrew, at 45 years old, snapped at her that afternoon, it felt like her heart folded into itself. It was a Thursday evening. The sky was that golden color, the kind that makes everything look gentle, even the chaos of a home, with children running around. She had come over to help after Andrew called, exhausted. "Mom, can you come help? The kids are wild, I haven't cooked, and I'm behind on work." She said yes before he even finished speaking, because that's what mothers do. She arrived with a casserole she had made the night before, just in case someone needed something. She wore her favorite lavender sweater, the one with the tiny embroidered flowers on the sleeves. She loved that sweater. It made her feel useful, warm, needed. She stepped into the kitchen like she had done 1,000 times before. The sink was full. The counters were cluttered. The kids were on tablets, faces glowing blue in the dim light. She said gently, "Maybe they should take a break from screens, sweetheart." Their little eyes looked tired. She didn't expect war. She didn't expect hostility. She certainly didn't expect disrespect. But Andrew turned sharply, eyes tense, voice raised. "Mom, just stop. You don't know what you're talking about. Stay out of it." The room fell silent. Even the kids looked up. Marjorie felt something inside her chest crack. Not loud, not explosive, just a quiet snap, like a tiny branch breaking under snow. She didn't yell. She didn't argue. She didn't scold. She simply stood still. All those years of giving, of helping, of loving, and she was spoken to like she was in the way. She reached for her purse with slow, steady hands. Her voice didn't shake, didn't tremble. "Andrew," she said softly, "I raised you with love, and I've lived long enough to deserve a kind voice." She didn't slam the door. She didn't storm out. She simply walked away. Quiet dignity is louder than shouting, and it echoed through that house like thunder. Andrew called. No answer. He called again. No answer. 3 hours later, after putting the kids to bed, after pacing the living room, after replaying the moment over and over, the truth hit him. He didn't snap at his mother. He snapped at the person who saved him more times than he could count. He showed up the next morning at her door holding a bouquet of her favorite white lilies. As soon as she opened the door, he said, "Mom, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that." Marjorie nodded gently. "We all say hurtful things sometimes," she replied. "But we learn when we choose better words next time." That moment, that quiet boundary, changed their relationship forever. Next is why calm boundaries work. When you respond with calm strength instead of anger, you stop the argument, you protect your heart, you reveal their disrespect, you force them to reflect, you teach through your example, and most importantly, you show them a behavior they must rise to match. Adult children often misunderstand quietness. They think quietness is weakness. But in truth, for seniors, silence is a sign of emotional maturity. You're not withdrawing because you're hurt. You're withdrawing because you're wise. Here's another hurtful phrase some grown-up kids makes to elderly parents. "Why are you always so negative?" This one often comes from children who don't want to face reality. Sometimes, as elders, we point out things they should consider. Their overspending, their relationship choices, their health habits, their stress, their rushed lives. And instead of listening, they label us negative. Say gently, "I'm not being negative. I speak from experience, not fear. I want your life to be easier than mine was." This recenters the conversation. You're not nagging. You're guiding. Later, when life hits them, when bills pile up, when relationships strain, when exhaustion catches up, your words will echo back. They'll remember you were not criticizing. You were trying to protect them. The seventh phrase is, "You're making me feel guilty." This one is a classic emotional reversal. It shifts the blame onto you. But guilt is not something you make. Guilt is something they feel when they know they're in the wrong. If my honesty makes you uncomfortable, that's not guilt. It's reflection. This sentence is a mirror. It shows them that discomfort is part of growth. Frank was 82 when the moment happened. He was a man carved by decades of labor. Broad shoulders, calloused hands. A voice that carried the calm of someone who had weathered real storms. He built houses, repaired porches, fixed neighbors' fences, and raised his daughter Lisa on a foundation of hard work and tender love. He wasn't a talker. He wasn't emotional. He wasn't dramatic. He was steady, the kind of father who showed love through actions more than words. But the older he became, the more the world sped up around him, and the more Lisa seemed to drift away. She was busy, a demanding job, 2 young kids, a husband always traveling, a schedule packed tighter than a suitcase before a long trip. Frank understood. He remembered the chaos of raising a family. He knew she meant well, but the way she spoke to him, the short tone, the rushed words, the impatience, those things were new wounds. One evening, during a simple phone call, it happened. Frank had called to check in, just to hear her voice, just to remind himself he wasn't alone in his small, quiet house that used to be full of noise. But she answered breathless, irritated. "Dad, what? I'm busy." He paused. "Just calling to say hello, honey." "Well, I can't do this right now. You're being too emotional, and I really don't have the capacity for this." Too emotional. Those 2 words hit him like a brick to the chest. Frank, the man who spent years holding his daughter when she screamed from childhood, nightmares. The man who drove across town at 2 a.m. the night her car broke down. The man who never once called her too emotional when she cried over heartbreak, failure, or life not being fair. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't snap. He simply said, "All right, sweetheart. We'll talk another time." He hung up slowly. Then he sat in his kitchen, in the chair he had repaired twice over the years, with the clock ticking loud in the silence. He felt hurt. But more than hurt, he felt invisible. Instead of calling again, instead of complaining, instead of letting resentment eat at him, he took out a sheet of old stationery, a leftover pad his late wife had once used for grocery lists. And he wrote a letter, not long, not poetic, not dramatic, just honest. It read, "Dear Lisa, I may not be here forever. All I ask is that while I am, we speak to each other with kindness. Love, Dad." He folded it neatly, sealed it, and mailed it the next morning. No guilt, no anger, just truth. When she received the letter 3 days later, she read it in her car before even pulling into the driveway. At first she froze. Then her stomach twisted. Her throat tightened. Tears rose up before she could push them down. She read the letter again, and again, and again. Her father, the man who never asked for anything, was asking for kindness. Not money, not help, not time. Just kindness. She drove straight to his house. Frank opened the door slowly, thinking it was just the mailman or a delivery. But there she was, eyes red, face soft, heart wide open. She didn't say a word. She just stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, holding him tightly like she used to when she was a little girl afraid of thunder. "Dad, I'm so sorry." He patted her back gently. "No harm done, sweetheart. We all get overwhelmed sometimes." "No," she whispered. "I spoke to you like you were a burden. You're the last person who deserves that." Frank smiled. We grow when we listen. And in that doorway, a relationship shifted, not through confrontation, but through calm truth. Why honesty works better than anger in handling grown-up kids. Anger sparks more anger. Shouting invites shouting. Accusations create distance. But honesty, especially from a parent who rarely asks for anything, cuts straight to the heart. Here's why honesty works. 1. It exposes the truth without attacking. A child cannot hide behind excuses when faced with simple, gentle truth. 2. It disarms defensiveness. Calm words turn down emotional heat. 3. It teaches responsibility without guilt-tripping. You're not saying, "Look what you did to me." You're saying, "Let's treat each other with respect." 4. It stays with them. People forget yelling, but they remember quiet disappointment. 5. It shows emotional maturity. And maturity inspires maturity. That's elder wisdom, the kind that cannot be learned from books, only from life lived well. 8th phrase, why are you making this about you? This one is often weaponized during heated moments. You express your hurt. Your child turns it around. But here's something senior wisdom knows. When someone flips responsibility onto you, it's because they're avoiding their own accountability. Here's the right response to make. I'm expressing how I feel. My feelings are allowed to exist too. This is a boundary, a gentle reminder that you are not a side character in their life story. You are a person with real emotions. The 9th phrase, stop lecturing me. Sometimes grown kids mistake guidance for scolding. They forget that the only reason you speak is because you care. This is what you should say to them. If I didn't care, I'd stay silent. Advice is love in words. Say it slow. Say it gently. Say it like a truth carved by decades. Because it is. And yes, it's the truth. 10th statement, you can be so dramatic at times. This one often gets tossed around casually, but its impact is deep. It invalidates your experience. It makes you sound irrational. It diminishes your pain. Respond like this. I'm reacting normally to something that hurt. Honey, I tried that new recipe you mentioned. The lemon one with... Before she could finish, Melissa snapped. Mom, I don't have time for this. You're always interrupting my day with little things. I just need space, okay? Stop calling so much. Ellen froze. The gentle music seemed to fade. The sunshine through her kitchen window suddenly felt cold. It wasn't the words alone. It was the tone, like she was a burden, like she was an inconvenience, like she was noise instead of a mother. Her hands trembled slightly, not because she was angry, but because she finally realized how deeply she had been dismissed. Instead of crying, instead of apologizing, instead of shrinking into silence like she usually did, she took a breath, a long, slow, steady breath. Then she said something she had never said before. Melissa, I love you, but I deserve to be spoken to with kindness. There was silence on the other end. A silence so sharp it felt like the whole world paused. Ellen continued, I'm not calling to bother you. I'm calling because I care, and if you're too busy to speak kindly, then let's talk another time. And with a calmness she didn't know she possessed, Ellen hung up. No slam, no anger, just dignity. At first Melissa was shocked. Her mother had never set a boundary like that in her life. But minutes turned into hours. And hours turned into a heavy feeling in her chest. For the first time she replayed her tone. She heard the disrespect. She heard the impatience. She heard the dismissiveness. And she remembered something she had forgotten. Her mother was a person, a woman, a soul with feelings, not a customer service hotline, not a leftover chore, not background noise. The next morning she drove to Ellen's house. When Ellen opened the door, Melissa stood there with tears already falling. Mom, she said softly, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. You deserve everything good. Ellen smiled gently. She wasn't the type to hold grudges. We all get overwhelmed sometimes, she said softly. But I won't let anyone, even the child I love, speak to me like I don't matter. Melissa embraced her tightly. And in that moment, Ellen realized something beautiful. Respect grows when kindness meets boundaries. One of the greatest strengths of elderly parenting is something the young often don't understand. Quiet boundaries speak louder than loud arguments. Here's why. They show maturity. You're not shouting, you're choosing peace. They reveal disrespect. When you step back, the child sees their error clearly. They model healthy behavior. You're showing how adults handle conflict. They protect your emotional health. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates, and you choose what enters. They reset the relationship. After a calm boundary, the next conversation is always different. More thoughtful, more respectful, more conscious. 13th hurtful statement, I can't deal with this right now. This is a convenience phrase, used to escape accountability. But your feelings don't run on their schedule. Say this wisely to them. Then let's talk when you're ready to speak kindly. I'm not here for rushed conversations. This puts responsibility back where it belongs. On them. 14th hurtful utterance. Why are you always so passive-aggressive? This one is often thrown out unfairly, especially when they don't like being confronted. You should just say, I'm being direct with you. I'm just doing it kindly. There is nothing aggressive about honesty softened by patience. 15. You never listen. Ironically, this phrase is often used by a child who is not listening themselves. Say this, I'm listening now. Let's make sure we both do. It resets the mood. It invites balance. It prevents escalation. Parents may age. Bodies may slow. Energy may fade. But wisdom, that never grows old. Senior wisdom carries a lifetime of experience, lessons earned through hardship, emotional resilience, patience built through decades. Prospective young people simply don't have. Many grown children forget this. They think new technology makes them smarter. They think busier schedules make them more important. They think independence means you have nothing left to teach. But the truth is simple. A tree never stops needing its roots. And you, my dear senior friend, you are the roots of your family. As we come toward the end of this insightful senior parenting together, I want you to take a deep breath. Because you, my friend, have walked through memories, painful words, hidden strength, life stories, and lessons that took whole decades to learn. This video isn't just about what kids say, it's about what those words do, and what you can do to stay strong, centered, and respected. So let's close this with the last lessons, the ones that bring everything home. Every senior parent deals with this at least once. Some grown children throw hurtful blame like, you didn't do enough. You ruined my childhood. You're the reason I have problems. If you had been different, I would be different. When you hear these words, you feel like your heart is being held underwater. No parent is perfect, but no parent deserves to be treated like a villain in a story they spent their life trying to get right. Say this calmly. I did the best I knew how at the time. I cannot change the past, but I'm here to build a better future with you, if you treat me with respect. This statement is powerful because it acknowledges the pain, it removes unfair blame, it establishes adult responsibility, it opens space for healing, it protects your dignity. It tells them, I love you, but I will not be your punching bag. Ever heard these lines? If you really cared, you'd do this for me. Everybody else's parents do it. You're the only one making this difficult. You should help after all I've done for you. Even grown adults sometimes use it without realizing. Here's your boundary phrase. I love you, but guilt will not guide my choices. It's short, clear, and dignified. You're not arguing. You're simply refusing to be emotionally cornered. Some children shut down. They disappear for weeks. They don't call. They ignore messages. They only return when they want something. Silence can hurt far more than shouting. But here is the senior truth. You cannot fix someone else's emotional immaturity, but you can protect your peace. What to do? Reach out once, not 20 times. Say you're available when they're ready. Then live your life. Keep your dignity. Don't chase. Chasing teaches them that disrespect works. Grace teaches them that love is steady. Boundaries teach them that you are not optional. Let me close the story section with one last real powerful reminder. Arthur was 78 when his two sons began fighting over him. James, the older son, visited every week, checked on him, fixed small things around the house, made him laugh. Daniel, the younger one, never visited, but Lord, he always had complaints. Dad never appreciated me. Dad always liked James more. Dad didn't help me growing up. Dad owes me. One afternoon, after another angry phone call from Daniel, Arthur sat quietly in his living room. The late afternoon sun was glowing through the curtains. He felt both love and sadness swelling in his chest. Then he said something wise, something only an elderly father with a full heart could say. A parent's love does not vanish when a child blames them. But a parent's peace is worth protecting. The next time Daniel called to argue, Arthur didn't defend himself. He didn't explain. He didn't justify. He simply said, "Daniel, I love you. I truly do. But if you want to talk to me, talk with kindness. Otherwise, we'll speak another time." Then he ended the call gently. And do you know what happened? 3 weeks later, Daniel showed up at the door, nervous, quiet, carrying a bag of groceries. "Dad," he whispered, "I miss you. I'm sorry. I don't want to fight anymore." Arthur smiled and answered, "Then let's start speaking like family again." And that's what boundaries do. They don't break relationships. They fix them. They make love stronger. They make respect clearer. They make peace possible. This is what young people forget. And here is the truth you must carry. Respect is not given automatically. Even to a parent, it's maintained with boundaries, protected with self-worth, and strengthened with calmness. You are not too old to be respected. You are not too needy. You are not asking for too much. You are a human being with feelings, worth, wisdom, a lifetime of love given, a heart that still deserves kindness. Your age does not make you invisible. Your softness does not make you weak. Your patience does not mean you should be ignored. You matter. You always have, and you always will.